Hi Dgens. So Zhu Yuan is about to drop and I'm super excited, but I've been seeing some content creators and fellow gamers trying to justify pulling her for what I would say are the wrong reasons. Now, this video is not to call anyone out. I just really want to make sure that if you are pulling, then you are pulling for the right reasons, especially in a game where it's just so easy to blow a huge amount of cash in such a short amount of time. Today, let's talk about Zhu Yuan, but specifically the reasons that you should or shouldn't be using to justify pulling her. So let me start with the shouldn't, because this is the most important part. Now, a lot of people have been saying that you should be pulling for Ellen or Zhu Yuan because the majority of the content in the game caters towards these two elements, ice and ether. To be honest, makes a lot of sense. Because when you go into Hollow Zero and have a look at each of the zones, you'll see ice and ether. You go to then zone number 2, you go ether, oh, again, and then zone number 3, it's ice and ether. Wow. And then when you go over to Zhu Defense critical mode, which I actually don't have, but here are the stages. And so that's what it looks like. You'll see that there is a lot of ice and there is a lot of ether. But, and here's the but, going back to Hollow Zero, none of these actually matter, because I'm sure you're clapping those ass cheeks already, and even if you aren't right now, you will be soon. My guys, it is simply a matter of time. It is a level gap, it is a skill gap, and it is a gear gap. I'm sure you guys are running like +0 stuff just like me. What matters though, my guys, is back in Hollow Zero is this big boy in the middle. The big boss, the El Capo, which is that really erotic looking flower in the Withering Garden. It's very likely that this is what we'll be running in the long term for Hollow Zero, especially because it gives 4,000 points per week. And so you can see here, there is no attribute advantage. Therefore, everyone does 100% damage. You can take any attribute in. And look, my guys, even if there was attribute advantage like ice, electric, ether, at worst, you just won't get the 20% damage bonus. And I'm 100% confident that you will be able to outdamage whatever content is trying to gate you, especially when you are fully specced out, +15 everything, crit rate, crit damage. My guys, just give it some time. We out here, we gacha gaming. It's marathoning, we ain't a fighting game. And so the second thing to consider is Xiyu back over here. I'm hoping that all of you understand that this mode right here, the stable Xiyu, is just a one-time thing only. Eventually, you're gonna steamroll this shit. So this is not even a consideration. However, if we are going to go talk about the critical Xiyu, that stuff is going to rotate on a monthly basis. So the first thing is that those elements are going to change. You know what they're going to change to? No, it's not some rare element like ether. It's gonna be whoever's banner is up. If it's Qing Yi time, who's literally shooting electricity from her Wukong pole, then the enemies are gonna be electric weak. If it's Miyabi, and assuming she hasn't changed from beta, they're gonna be ice weak. You get the point. Therefore, if you're pulling because you're looking at this and thinking, oh, I have to have these elements or else I can't clear content, then that's not right at all. But, and here's another but. If you are pulling because you want elemental coverage now, that's valid. And my guys, there is a really big difference there, because on one hand, you're thinking that you're forced to pull, but on the other hand, you're planning for the future. And so in that case, how about we start talking about what some good reasons are for pulling? My Dgens, the most important thing is that you actually like the character. I guarantee you, most people have an infinitely better time playing characters that they actually like. If you like boobs, roll for 'em, buddy. For me, I didn't really like Ellen in the beginning, but eventually she did grow on me. So I'm kind of lucky in that regard, because I panic pulled Ellen, but now I actually like her. And in terms of Zhu Yuan, her character trailer just got released. She got a gameplay trailer. I suggest you go watch it. Maybe you'll like her, maybe you won't. For me, it didn't change too much. I personally like her character, but I'm now an Ellen simp. And speaking of Ellen, she is actually a really good example of the second most important reason to pull. And that, my guys, is playstyle. A lot of people love Soldier 11, me included, and it's because of her simple, straightforward playstyle. If you get the timings right, you get rewarded with perpetual fire damage, and it just feels really freaking good to play. But in regards to Ellen's playstyle, I'm okay with it now, but it was a bit of a struggle in the beginning. And so what I'm trying to say is that it does not matter what attribute that we pull for. You need to prioritize the playstyle first. Like 3 weeks later after launch, I still hate Kaleda's playstyle the most, unfortunately. And my guys, don't get me wrong, I think that she is absolutely a top tier stunner. She does so much work. I just would never willingly pull for her, that's all. And so in regards to Zhu Yuan, head over to your HDD, go over to chapter 2 interlude. Inside story commissions, you'll see a perilous duty or invisible assistant. I would pick either one of them. And make sure you give her a really good go. See if you actually like her charge accumulation system, this one up here. where she stores the enhanced shots and then you blow them all by holding left click, boom, 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 boom. And see if you actually like this really chaotic movement from just even basic attacking. She freaking flies across the map. She can go front, she can go back, she goes sides. As you can see, there's a lot of frame skipping there. And I mention this because I know there are a fair few people who don't like Nekomata's playstyle. And so let's start talking about it from a meta and team comp point of view. Right now, there are primarily two types of teams. Your crit-based attack, stun support, like this one right here, as well as your anomaly support, or instead of support, maybe stun like this. All right, here is my take. I reckon that as long as you have two stunners, so whether it's Kolida plus Ambi, or Ambi plus Lycaon, or Lycaon plus Kolida, I think from a meta point of view, you can go for whoever you want. As long as you're also able to activate that additional skill, this one over here. And so for example, I have Kolida and Ambi, so I could actually consider pulling an S rank stunner. On the other hand, I could actually just use Ambi and I have two stunners for every single team. Some people will have only Ambi, no Kolida, no Lycaon. And in that scenario, you have two choices. You either hold out for a stun unit, or you could plan to select one with your 300 pull selector thing. As long as you plan it and you stick to it, honestly, you can roll for whoever you want. But some people, my guys, some luck sacks have both Kolida as well as Lycaon. If I had both of those, to be honest, from a team meta point of view, I would probably never pull for a stun unit again unless I actually liked them. Absolutely, having matching elements between your DPS and your stunner is awesome. But it's also not the first priority. Because just by matching element on enemy weakness, your DPS has gained, or actually, whoever matches element has gained 20% extra damage. And to be clear, bringing in a resisted element will decrease your team's damage by about 20% as well. Now, it's not actually like 20% damage, it's 20% resistance. But to simplify it, because we just don't have time for the math, it is about 20% extra damage. And so if you do have 5 attack or anomaly class units that corresponds to each of the different elements, boom, that is 20% extra damage for your DPS for all content, unconditional. So elemental coverage for your DPS is absolutely a great long-term goal. But what about the short term and mid-term? In the short term, building two teams, two relatively coherent teams, is the priority. And so let's put some of that theory to work. Let's say that this is the scenario you have. These are the characters you have. You can see very clearly, we have one team covered there. We're missing an attacker. We do have Korin. We do have Anton. We can use either of those two in this comp. In this case, we don't have a fire DPS, so we could actually opt out of the Lucy for the Nicole. But then the question becomes, okay, well then who should we pull for next? Should we pull for Zhu Yuan, or should we pull for a stun or something? I see 2 stuns. I'm not pulling for a stunner again. Scenario number 2. So I see we have an attacker in Soldier, we have Grace, and we have only 1 stun unit, Lycaon. Now the whole point of Sokaku is to boost ice damage, but we don't have an ice attacker. So screw that shit. Lycaon's coming over here, and then I can see I have Grace. Grace, Piper, easiest team comp in the world. Boom, just like that. And so in this case, what I do see is I see Ambi here so that she can trigger Grace Electric. And then we also have Nicole, who is the best unit in the game, filling in for Team 1 just like that. So I don't see a shortage of DPSs here. I could use Anton. I also have 2 stun units. It's just that there is some elemental mismatch. So one potential upgrade here is to go for an ice attacker or a fire stunner. Otherwise, it's replacing your Ambi. But to be honest, Ambi, Grace, that works. And so in terms of what I would do here, I would go for either the Ellen or the Zhu Yuan just to make this team work. If either Ellen or Zhu Yuan occupies this spot right here, this team's gonna be beast. Like my guys, even if it was Zhu Yuan over here and Lycaon does not have any synergy with anyone, it's all freaking good. He's just there to break people's kneecaps, dude. And when he breaks them, our DPS, who is supported with a support that gives freaking extra damage and defense down and all that, big damage. Big damage for days, my guys. All right, and so for example 3, we have this team over here. I see S ranks for Grace and Rena. So easy, holy crap. Grace plus Piper and Rena over here, that is team 1, done and dusted. Now, team 2 is looking a little more dire. If it were me, I'd probably do Ambi and Nicole over here, and that is my team 2. And then I would look for another DPS to replace my dear little Korin over here. I love Korin, don't get me wrong, but I think that is probably the biggest upgrade. And so in this case, easy Zhu Yuan pull again. Wow. And so my guys, let's say that you got giga unlucky and ended up with a C2 Lycaon, and he's your only S rank. Here, I would probably go either pull for Ellen or Korin in, Ambi over here, and then pull for a Zhu Yuan right there, team 1 and team 2. Done. Alright, so honestly, team building is so much fun, running through all of these different scenarios, but we could be here all day. But I gotta let you go. So hopefully this video has given you a good idea as to whether you should pull for Ellen, for Zhu Yuan, or for whoever in the future. I just really don't want you guys looking at this shit and going, oh man, I need to pull for the ice or the ether or else I'm screwed, I can't do this. Look, bro, this isn't even end game. Even looking over at the critical nodes in Shiyu defense, it's like, bro, that's just one cycle. Next time, I bet you it's like electric and fire or electric and physical or something, whatever Jane Doe is gonna be. So my guys, that does bring us to the end of the video. Do let me know if you guys are intending to pull on Zhu Yuan, but also the reason as to why. Is it because you like her? Is it because you like her gameplay? Or maybe you're just trying to form some kind of a coherent team. As for me, to be honest, I'm pulling for her because I like her character, not necessarily her gameplay. And on top of that, I'm just a massive Nicole fan. And I'm pulling her because I want to keep using Nicole. So yeah, my guys, let me know, but otherwise, that is going to be the end of the video. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.